Anton Webb, Design for Industry, 4th year at Northumbria University. The Global Studio was intended to help us collaborate with different universities or organisations, and basically to aid our workflow with across seas or through different buildings, etc. The activities that took place throughout Global Studio range from video conferencing, audio conferencing, blogging, in particular WordPress and Plone. Through them we were able to contact other individuals involved, write reviews, post work, receive feedback, etc. Yeah, initially we started off by identifying our group persona. That just was a better way of people getting to know who they were talking to. Tended to be easy than remembering the whole group, everyone's names in each group, when you could link them to an identity.
And did that happen with the second group, with the Korean students?
Yeah, with the Korean students, we set up our own personal identities rather than group identities. We were working in groups initially, but then it broke off into individual work. So that project was less about knowing groups per se, but more about us talking with other students one-to-one, rather than a whole group talking with one person from industry. Through the semesters, the first semester we used Plone. However, our group also set up WordPress, mainly because we found there were some issues with the Plone system that weren't entirely helpful in our design process. We'd spend a while uploading things, and it was time wasted that we could have been communicating. We also used Skype a lot through in the second semester with Motorola and the Korean students, as well as file sharing sites, FTP. With the Plone, initially there was this massive push on the security side, but found that any user could edit anyone else's work, and there was lots of issues with people, the work being publicly available to everyone there, and then other groups would end up with similar work, and found that you didn't need a login if you copied the URLs. So it was quite simple to access some files which supposedly should have been secure. And then in terms of uploading, we couldn't, there were limitations on file size, and often it timed out. And because of these limitations in the files you could upload, there's no way of password protecting those individual files, etc. So a couple of those issues were fixed early on, like the security issue, but that was found by students. I think that one of the other things as well is with the personal identities which were initially setting up, there wasn't much scope for actually promoting that identity through Plone because it was very regimented. So in terms of using your own CSS or HTML to sort of change the appearance, and also it was good in the sense that you could have a history of the tree map of where your files are kept, but that navigation was good in a way, but also slowed people down a lot. So we found in the video conference, or for Intel, the audio conferences, you'd waste 10 minutes trying to like explain how to get to a specific file to download it. So within the Motorola project, we were able to upload files, and the Korean students were able to download them, edit, add their changes, add to the documents, re-upload them, and then we could use reviews and comments to comment on this before we actually had meetings. So instead of wasting 10 minutes during the audio conference explaining and giving feedback, you've already got the feedback like the night before or something, so you could save a bit of time and move on from there. So it was less about waiting around to hear feedback, waiting around to see changes. It was more of a real-time activity. At the beginning, it just seemed like we still used Blend because we had to, because the security issues or whatever, so when sending the files to Intel, we still had to upload to Blend. But it tended to be more of like, because we were using the WordPress alongside the Blend side, and we were constantly sending each other like links and information. It was just, I think, because it was quicker, that's why we used that. So I don't really know what, like, because people in our group had already heard of the WordPress as well. They sort of instantly saw these advantages of just being able to work quicker, basically. There were some features in Play which probably would have been handy, but because we were able to work a lot quicker, it suited us better. And then it tended to be like, you'd have to set aside time before the conferences, like a good couple of hours, to make sure that you were able to upload it and it didn't time out, etc. Which I think for some things in the end we ended up using an personal FTP sites, which probably wasn't brilliant in terms of security, but we've taken measures to make sure it was okay, but there's just no other way of sending the files. And I think actually in the Intel, Nick Oakley sent us his mobile.me account so we could upload files to there, because people just were getting stuck with spending hours rendering out a video and then having to compress it to the smallest file size. From the tools I used throughout both semesters, definitely continue using Skype. I think the main thing I learned with dealing with people internationally is video conferencing works a lot better than just audio. And in terms of like blogging and journaling work, I think WordPress would be something I have been using in the past in terms of a personal blog, but I could see it being useful for certain projects. But I think the main tools would be the video conferencing and file sharing. The work I carried out last year with Global Studios helped me in the fact that dealing with clients internationally, just something you don't always get the opportunity to do in university situations. So when I come to a scenario where I need to speak with a client overseas or in another part of the UK, I've now learned some techniques in terms of communicating with them, sharing data, organising meetings,